Hello. Sorry about that. Welcome back to my channel, though. It's your girl, Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. We are back for another episode of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and this is season 6, and this is episode 7. It's called Above Deck and Below the Belt. And Salt Lake is just on a whole nother level of how they handle things as far as Housewives are concerned. This episode was so good to me, and honestly, it kind of cracks me up that this episode is right behind the Real Housewives of Potomac episode where they claim they're on a yacht. Respectfully, Potomac ladies, you're not on a yacht, you're on a catamaran. This right here, that was a yacht. Okay. So let's go, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. So the ladies are meeting up at the airport, and we find out via text message, I think it's text message or phone call, couldn't remember which one it was, that Bronwyn will not be making the initial flight, but she'll see them later on. And so they are speculating to why, because we know towards the end of the last episode, all of Bronwyn's accusations about identity theft and whatnot came up. So it's one of those things of, do you address it or do you not? Now, one thing in the confessional that I noticed, because Whitney was talking about it, and I didn't really pay attention last week. Now I'm paying attention a little bit this week. I forgot what commentator called it out. I forgot who it was. Someone called it out, but because I want to give them the credit. But I don't remember who called it out. But Whitney, when it comes to this Bronwyn news, her reaction's kind of weird. Like, she has a smile on her face when she's talking about it. Not like a gleeful smile, but like, maybe she's one of those people, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. She smiled, like, maybe she's one of those people that smiles at all types of like conflict or whatever. But because it wasn't really gleeful, but it also was kind of weird that she's smiling when she's describing what's going on with Bronwyn, and that, you know, Bronwyn at this moment, she's damned if she do, she's damned if she doesn't, which is true. She can either not show up to the event and they'll talk about her, or she can show up at the event and they're not talk about her. So it's one or the other. And so that's kind of where we're at on this. They're on the flight. Everyone looks like they're in first class, either that or business class. It's clearly not economy. And then 15 hours later, they are at the island. And the island they're at, it's a smaller island. And child, if anything, I'm learning when it comes to this Real Housewives shows. I don't know much about the Caribbean at all. I feel, geography-wise, I feel really, really dumb. Like, I think I do a decent job when it comes to European geography. United States geography, of course, not including territories, because that's where we get a little murky at. Because there's a lot more territories than the two obvious ones, which is Puerto Rico and, you know, U.S. Virgin Islands. And Guam. Never mind, 3. Because I think there are other territories, but I'm not sure if all of them are livable. I don't think they all are. I think some of them are just like literally bases for the military, because we ain't gonna get to the history of the wise. I know the wise, this is not for that. But anyway, when it comes to, but it just reminds me as I'm watching the shows, I'm like, I don't know where half this stuff is at. This is crazy. And it also just reminds me I need to travel more. And I am going to try that. It's going to happen soon. I'm just a late bloomer when it comes to a lot of things, including traveling, clearly. Anyway, but they are at the island, and then they're on their way to the yacht. And then once they're at the yacht, they meet Captain Jason. So for those who don't watch the other show that this is tied to, I don't watch it either, but I am at least familiar enough to know that this is Captain Jason from Below Deck. I think this is for Below Deck Down Under. I think that's the one, because they all have kind of like, he has an Australian accent, and he's actually quite a looker. He's quite a looker. He's not, I mean, he ain't all that, but he's a looker. And also, too, he's kind of my type. For those who don't know, it's kind of a running joke, but it's kind of not. I always joke that my type is darker features, so it doesn't matter what color you are. I just love darker features on men and women. just in general. I just love darker features on people. And I'm also a sucker for an accent. I'm a sucker for an accent. So you could be kind of like fugly, but if you have those other two things, it'll be overlooked for me. But anyway, he's an all right looking guy. And so he's there, and the ladies are just kind of, some of the ladies are like all eyeing over Jason, mainly Heather and Brittany. Brittany's awing over all the men. She just wants the men's. Shocker, not really. And then Lisa, being the materialistic woman she's all about the yacht, the yacht, the yacht, the yacht. And then she starts shading, she immediately wastes no time and starts shading Angie. She's like, oh, this will be great because I'm sure this is Angie's first time on the yacht. It actually turns out it really is Angie's first time on the yacht. And she's like, yeah, I'm excited for this being my first time on the yacht in her confessional. But, the mood goes down when I see Lisa next to me. But maybe me being next to her will help with her swollen ankles. I mean, I kid. I was like, that clapback was cute. I'm also glad she did not do that. I'm glad this was an episode where we had a rest on that. They stayed in their respective corners for the most part, but we already know it's going to get reignite when we watch the show back, because Lisa was just being such an ass this whole entire episode. She was showing her whole entire behind this, not even her ass, she was showing her ass whole this whole entire episode. Anyway, so then from there, we then get to the room arrangement. So Heather has like the main room with Whitney. So bad weather. I have a theory about bad weather, by the way. We'll get into it later on this episode because it kind of subsides with what I said earlier about Whitney. And then we have Lisa and Meredith. They're in the room together. Angie and Mary. And then unfortunately, the two leftovers people is Bronwyn and Brittany. But Bronwyn is not there yet. But according to, Bronwyn earlier, she says she will be there. So and Brittany's like freaking out. She's like, I don't want to share a room with Bronwyn because, they don't really get along for real. And Heather's just like, she may not even show up, so you're fine. We know that's not how that goes. Anyway, and then Brittany then is just like obsessed with the Jared. From there, once everyone gets in their rooms and have the arrangements or whatever, they have this quick lunch, and they basically, Brittany is claiming that she is taking a 30-day fast when it comes to Jared. And I'm sorry, knowing what we know now, especially seeing her daughter's story, fuck Brittany. I'm sorry, there's no nice way of saying it. Fuck Brittany. She's trash. She's a trash human being. So, honestly, moving forward when it comes to my reviews, the way she's treated in all these instances, I don't feel bad. Because it's just like, you still are choosing this man over your daughter. Because then she makes a joke about how, and she thinks it's funny. And it's just like, dude, this is not landing how you think it's landing. It's just giving you're a horrible mom. So she basically was just like, yeah, after I saw the psychic, I was like, okay, let me give it 30 days. Nothing about after seeing her daughter. But then when she goes to leave for the trip, she sees Jared because Jared helps her pack. And then now they're starting over. I almost forgot. When it comes to Brittany and that stuffed animal, like the stuffed unicorn that has Jared's voice in it. Good night, baby. You are loved. Yuck and yikes. I don't know how I forgot it, but I had to mention it because I was like, what is this? Anyway. Helps her pack. And then now they're starting all over again with this fasting. If you get in my face with this, we'll get more. Unfortunately, this won't be the last time we hear about Jared, but the ladies do try to fix this situation. And while they're having brunch, Whitney and Meredith both agree. Anytime she says his name, they're going to splash water on her. And when they say splash, I thought they were just going to do a little cute thing. They're pouring pictures of water on her every time she says this man's name. And I'm just like, what in the humiliation ritual is this? But I ain't going to hold you because of what I just said prior to about her being a horrible mom. I'm here for it. I'm not even mad at it. And then and then Meredith in her confessional was like, this is the first time Whitney and I agree on something. I was like, oh my God. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Anyway. So then Meredith, not Meredith, but Bronwyn does end up being on her way. So it wasn't even that long. I would say it was probably within 10 minutes of them being on the boat. Bronwyn does end up showing up, and she's wearing this ridiculous outfit where she literally looks like she is a buoy, or a floater. Like, cause she's like, her outfit is outfit of floaters. It's like yellow. She's wearing something obnoxious. Of course, Lisa is shading her in confessional, saying, oh my gosh, like, look at her. Of course she's wearing something like this, but she wore this like 2 years ago. Like, just shading her. And it's just like, Lisa, you acting this way is making it seem like you are doing all the things you're being accused of. Like, Lisa's doing herself no favors at all this season so far. And so then, that's kind of what happens there. And Lisa then, and yeah, that's kind of all that happens there. Moving on. Sorry, I'm trying not to make these videos too long. For those who don't know how I do my editing and what I end up doing, and don't mind Whisper, she's been on one all day today. She can tell my mood is off. Whenever my mood is off, she is obsessed with making sure she spends time with me to simmer down my mood. But unbeknownst to her, I find it sometimes annoying when she does that. And this is one of those days where I'm just like, I love you, Whisper, but you're kind of getting on my nerves. See, she won't. She's just like, this is me. This is where I'm at. Anyway, so then from there, sorry. What I was getting at, though, before I got interrupted, is that a lot of times when I do these videos, I try to do short segments and then edit it all together because it's easier for things to load and upload. Anyway, so then real quick, we have a little bit of a Housewives montage. And we see that Heather and Whitney, I forgot what they were talking about. Oh, Whitney, I think it was either Whitney or Heather, they lost like a pasty. So then, of course, the whole entire boat is like, they're on the speaker asking if they found her nipple cover, basically. And then Angie and Mary are together getting ready. Angie immediately looks like she is not doing well. And yeah. And then from there, we see Bronwyn and Brittany. They're trying to get things arranged, get things together. And Brittany wastes no time. This is so, I'm just going to combine the Housewives montage to what was said once they were together. So Brittany wastes no time to ask Bronwyn what's going on with these accusations. And Bronwyn is basically telling her side of the story of, okay, one of them is based upon what happened like 10 years ago. Well, after college, you know, with her eviction. And the second one is a sealed thing, and it's about financials and whatnot. And so clearly Bronwyn is not telling the whole story, and we never will hear the whole story because it's been sealed. But I have a theory. I feel like a lot of the people on, YouTube have their theories thinking that Todd sealed it. I don't think I think Todd may have sealed it, but I think I know why. If Todd did seal it, I don't think that part really matters, but I feel like a lot of people are just sticking with Todd sealing it, but they're not getting to what they think the accusations are when it comes to identity theft and all that stuff. I have a theory of what happened. I really do. And I feel like everyone basically is somewhat, when you listen to everyone kind of talking about it when it comes to, I don't know, for those who watch other reviews and watch what's out there, I feel like a lot of people, and even people who are watching the show, people are immediately thinking Bronwyn did do something kind of scammy and shady. I actually am taking the side of Bronwyn. I really don't think she did. Or if she did, I think she unknowingly was a participant. And I think these accusations has to do with her employer and where she was working at. And I think it might be something where it was a group of people within her business area, And so she's in the paperwork implicated because she may have had a small part of it. But if it's like a major big thing and she's like the small fish within the big fish, she's going to be in the paperwork. But I guess what I'm saying, whether she actually did anything bad or not, I think the first step to really figure out if she did anything or not, which I say you shouldn't do this, but this is kind of where my head went. Did she lose any of her financial licenses, like FINRA or whatnot? Because I think we keep forgetting before her and Todd met, they were in a similar industry. And if you do anything somewhat shady in that industry, or if you are affiliated with someone, like let's say, for example, she was an agent, like a broker-dealer agent, and her agency that she worked under was doing some illegal stuff. Even though she herself may not have done anything illegal, she's going to be in that paperwork if she's part of like a small broker-dealer firm within like a financial institution, a FINRA financial institution. So I am thinking, that's my theory of what I think happened. I don't think she really did anything, actually. I think it's just the fact that whatever group she worked under may have done something. Or essentially, if your boss does something when it comes to those type of situations, they could implicate your whole entire department when stuff like that happens. So that's kind of like some of the things I'm throwing out there, what I think may have happened with her. Because I just needed more time to kind of think about it. But so the reason why I'm like saying that is because I'm in an industry where FINRA and all that's a thing. So like I'm aware of those rules. And when you take like those, when you take your different certifications to get those licenses, they kind of go over those things of if you're affiliated with anyone, whether you actually do it or not, or if you know someone that did it, you are still violating like FINRA rights and stuff like that, and they can implicate you in like these type of things. So that's my theory of what I think may have happened. I don't think she really was doing some scamming like that for real. And honestly, if she did, it was 10 years ago. I really think it really was 10 years ago. But I think what we're hanging up on at is it being sealed. I think it was recently sealed by Todd. But also, too, if it was like a big situation, it may have taken a long time for the whole entire thing to get settled if it's under a giant thing and she's just a small fish within the big thing. So those are my theories of what could be going on. I don't really know. I kind of don't really care. And ironically, this episode, it wasn't really talked about as much as we thought it was going to get talked about. It got deflected so quickly, and I'm not mad at it. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so then from there, speaking of, Lisa and Meredith are indeed talking about Bronwyn and what they think is going on with it. And I also mentioned Bronwyn and Brittany were talking about it. Brittany is not buying anything that Bronwyn's selling, but we already know why, because Brittany doesn't like Bronwyn and Bronwyn doesn't really like Brittany. And Meredith is coming from a place of, I just want some honesty if that's what happened. She just wants to know. I think Meredith isn't really coming from a place of maliciousness. Lisa, of course, is coming from a place of maliciousness, and she's being really kind of a jerk about it, which makes me think she is guilty when it comes to leaking the stuff. And whether she is or not, that's the thing, because I don't know if she necessarily is. I think with Lisa, she's so reactive. Who knows? Anyway. But Bronwyn's upset, though, about the situation, not only because of like how it impacts Todd and her daughter. She's also upset that no one checked up on her. She alluded to the only person checked up on her was Mary. And that's wild to me that Mary was the only one that checked up on her. Because I would have thought at least Angie would have checked up on her. But maybe Angie, you know, I feel like a lot of the women on the show, but a lot of the women on the show, they don't really, I think a lot of them are scared of the ghost of Jen Shaw's past. Mary's going to be the only one that keeps it real, that really is going to check up on things. Hold on. Sorry, there was something flying around. I had to get rid of that. Okay. So then from there, we kind of have this short thing in between here where we have like, they just keep finding cucumbers randomly in, like, on the boat. And people are wondering where the cucumbers are coming from. It happens more than once in the episode, but it's just a random thing. And it's a little bit of a joke of why is there a cucumber. I really think what towards the end, they kind of talk about it towards the end, because we're going to get the cucumber thing out the way because it's silly and it's kind of funny. And I like it sprinkled in here for some likeness. I think it's for the lady's eyes for when they're sunbathing. I don't think it's for anything else, but they're alluding to it might be for something else, but you know, whatever. Angie is seasick. Angie, this whole entire episode, that sea was kicking her ass. That sea was kicking her ass. And then after that, the ladies all basically are sitting down, getting ready for another type of situation. I forgot what it was, but they're all sitting down because they all change at this point. They're all in like their bikinis or whatever, because now they're about to like spend time on the boat. Not on the boat, but spend time in the water. And basically, all the ladies are talking about Bronwyn. Bronwyn defends herself, basically explains her side of what's going on. And Bronwyn, her deflection game was strong because she got them off of her so quickly. They went from talking about her to then now trying to figure out who leaked this news. Because Bronwyn this whole entire time is doubling down that none of this happened recently. This all happened after college and then also 10 years ago. None of it recent. Basically, statute of limitation is limiting. And she had an answer for everything. So, good for her. But basically, Bronwyn's like, yeah, I feel like someone in this group leaked it. She didn't say who, but child, immediately Lisa overreacts and it's like, child is giving a hit dog will holler. And so she's not helping herself with these allegations because she's going crazy. And the funny thing is, Bronwyn barely said anything before Lisa's reacting. All the other ladies are just kind of like, nothing even happened here. But Lisa kept saying certain things, saying certain slick things as if she knew the news before everyone else did. But we already know that this news has already been out on the press, because this is around time where this was circulating out on the press via Us Weekly and People's, like, before the season even started. So it was already out there. But Lisa, because she's so reactive, she's making herself look guilty. But I was paying attention to Whitney. Whitney kind of gave a weird situation with this too. And I have a theory. And this is an if situation. If Lisa is not the one who did this, for those who watch the Real Housewives, what's it called? Ultimate Girls Trip, the Thailand one where bad weather was bad weathering. I feel like this is a case of bad weather. And that's only if Lisa didn't do it. I'm on the side of, I'm just a viewer. I'm just going to watch and enjoy the show because I don't know who did it. I'm not playing a game of Clue when it comes to this because those are some serious accusations about leaking things to the press. Especially in this case, because this is not just ruining Bronwyn's reputation, this impacts her family. And, you know, especially with Todd being in the financial industry still, this really impacts him badly. And I don't think a lot of those ladies really know that for real. I do because I'm in that industry. Like those are some really crazy accusations where you could be at risk of losing your license and losing your whole entire livelihood because it's literally, he's involved in hedge funds. And hedge funds is definitely affiliated with FINRA and all of those governing agencies where you can't have these things going on. Just saying. Anyway, so then now the ladies are basically having a good time. They're all in the water. Heather and Captain Jason they are flirting like crazy, and it's quite funny. But we found out earlier on in this episode that Heather and Captain Jason already have met each other and know each other, because I think I remember this actually aired a while ago. Heather and Whitney were on the Down Under, Below Deck Down Under, like quite a few years ago, I believe. I'm pretty sure they made a cameo. I'm almost positive that's what happened. So they know each other from that. And Brittany is getting all kinds of jealous because Heather and Captain Jason are hanging out a lot. And Heather's like, dude, it's not that serious. Like, we already know each other. Like, we're cool. You know, we effed around, but like, there's nothing there. So... And Brittany's like, wait, what'd you say? But Heather skipped right over that so quickly. She's like, no, we're just friends. We're just friends. And then in the confessional, the producer's like, do you realize you just said that to Brittany? She's like, oh my God, I did? Delete. And I was like, I believe it though. I believe it. You know, because Heather... Yes, we make jokes about Heather's looks and stuff, but I mean, she's not an ugly woman. And her charisma, I'm sure, you know, I could see it. Anyway, so then Brittany, she goes from like trying to pine over Captain Jason to the other guy who's on the show. Like, basically any man that was on this show, she was hitting on them. I was like, oh my God, this lady is Delulu. While all this is happening, Angie is having a horrible time. She's having the worst time of her life. She's just like, I hate it here. And I feel so bad for her. And and it was gross though. That's the thing. I don't know why they're airing. They need to ping the camera. And I'm glad I wasn't eating while I was watching this. And plus I already saw the preview, so I kind of already knew. But Angie is literally just puking every 5 seconds. And she's in the water puking because she thought getting in the water would make it better. But I'm just like, why? How would that make it better? Maybe while she was in the water was fine. But when she got out of the water and had to like go back onto the boat, it was so much worse. I was like, oh my gosh, she is having a time. I don't know if she didn't have these things. I don't know. But I was just... Angie was like my worst fear living. Because I've never been on a cruise before on a really, really, really big boat, other than like, you know, the architectural tour that we do here in the city. I've never been on a boat for a long amount of time, put it that way. And my biggest fear is that. Because I already get car sick horribly, so like I can only imagine. But at the same time, for as badly as I get car sick, I don't get sick on a turbulent flight at all. I've had a really, really turbulent flight where everyone around me got sick and I didn't. But when it comes to the car be kicking my ass when it comes to my stomach and motion sickness. So I don't know, but like I just felt so bad for Angie. Big Angel is not having a good day. Lisa the whole entire time is kind of like judging her, making fun of her. I'm just like, girl, stop being such a bitch. I'm sorry, Lisa's getting on my nerves this season. So I don't really feel bad about all the women coming after her because it's been overdue. Anyway. And then I'm trying to think what happened here. Because I have something about B and W. Whitney and somebody. Oh, that wasn't really that important. Oh, Bronwyn and Whitney were talking for a little bit. Now I remember. So after the fun happens, Bronwyn and Whitney, they go to talk in Brittany and Bronwyn's room about what's going on. And Whitney's just like, yeah, like, because they both found it very, very weird how Lisa reacted. So you already see where this is going. And then Bronwyn is trying to talk to one of the other deck crew members. And he's just like trying to be friendly, ask what are you doing? And she is trying to hit on him, but she just sounds so dense. I'm just like, oh my God. Brittany's really a space cadet, isn't she? I'm just so confused on how is she just so weird. Anyway, so then but they are basically talking about how, and then Heather and Whitney then go and end up talking to each other, bad weather, and they're talking about how Lisa is always someone who always has information first, and why is that? And Heather, the producers are paying a story that Heather is putting together and saying, she's just like saying, I've been peeping game from Lisa this whole entire time. And it's giving, Heather, you were never Lisa's friend. You were looking for this. If you were on the side that you think Lisa didn't do this. If you're on the side that Lisa did this, then Heather's being a true friend. I still don't know what side I want to believe, but I'm kind of leaning towards Lisa did this, because also how later on in the episode, how Mary feels like she's doing this. So, because Lisa did it to Mary too. We keep forgetting Lisa has actually done this to Mary too. So, well, Lisa and Jen Shaw. And so, that's kind of what I'm kind of getting from that. But people will think one way or the other. So that's kind of why I brought both of them out there. But anyway, Heather basically said the final straw for her was the Meredith situation. The fact that basically it was brought to her attention that she did try to try to get information from Meredith years ago. She didn't know that. Angie basically spilled the beans on that kind of recently, and so that was the final straw for her. And so then they basically is like, let's get Meredith over here to see how we should handle this. Meredith is trying so hard to stay out of it, but Meredith is not innocent, and she just kind of gets on my nerves, and I'm actually can't wait till next episode, because Mary's going to kind of call her out on her bullshit a little bit. Meredith be trying to stay out of it, but because you could tell Meredith and Lisa are not really friends for real, it's an alliance, Meredith will say enough to be like, yeah, you probably should talk to her, see what's going on. But she's never given you a clear answer of saying like, no, I think she did it, I think she didn't. She's never going to do that. And so, of course, Heather is like, the reason why she wants to talk to Meredith, because she wants to feel like Meredith has her back. And so we're again seeing more of how Heather and Meredith riff is continuing. But Meredith is disengaging. She wants no parts of it. Anyway, moving on. My gosh. I hope I'm not catching a cold. I feel like I am, but we'll see. Anyway, so Mary checks in on Angie. Angie's doing horribly. So what ends up happening is Mary ends up staying with Angie in her room while all the rest of the ladies go out above the deck to have dinner, because Angie is just having a horrible time. So at this point, Mary's food's going to be coming in. And then they're waiting for like a doctor and like medic to come check on Angie, because Angie has a fever, like she's doing horribly. And so then bad weather, they kind of just talk about, hey, it's great that we're all here together. And they just mentioned that Mary and Angie won't be there. And everyone else took it seriously but Lisa. And then finally, after they're like, no, Angie's doing really, really bad. She's not doing okay. It finally clicked with Lisa to have some sense of humanity and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And it's just like, why did it take you so long for that to click? I know you guys are not getting along right now, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't wish motion sickness like that on my worst enemy. That is horrible. You want some, that's horrible. Because she's probably dehydrated and everything else. So it's not just like she's just sick. And so then they're just like, yeah, we're sad that they're not going to be here. And then Brittany makes a snide comment like, I'm not going to miss Mary's commentary. And everyone's like, girl, what? And Bronwyn had enough. Because one thing about Bronwyn Bronwyn has Mary's back. So Bronwyn was like, don't say that, don't do that. And also then Heather was just like, you know, we have a rule here with this group. You don't talk about someone unless they're right here. And Brittany tries to claim, I talk about everyone. I have everyone here. I talk about everyone to their face. Yada, yada, yada. And Bronwyn blows her spot up immediately. She's just kind of like, no, that's not true. You were talking about how you don't like how Lisa big sis you, and you don't like that Meredith basically overreacts. Like, she basically was calling Meredith fake, which, yeah, she is. But she's entertaining, so I don't really care. But it's true. Meredith does come off fake because she kind of is on the show. She's definitely, to me, I feel like Meredith is definitely playing a caricature of like herself. She's not being herself on this show, which is one of like her greatest criticisms of being on the show. But she's so entertaining that that's why she stays. Anyway, Meredith immediately flies off the handle and goes completely off on Brittany. And Brittany's like, see, this is what I mean. You think everyone is scared of you. I'm not scared of you. It's like, where is this coming from? Like, no one is scared of Meredith. Brittany, what are you talking about? But Meredith gets so mad at her that she pours water on her again. And Heather makes a joke about like, I think Meredith needs to turn up her hearing aid. She didn't say Jarrett this time. I'm just like, no one cares. And then Brittany's just like, she did all this mean stuff to me and no one even cares that she did this. It's like, no, we don't, because you're a joke. Like, you are the joke. And so after Meredith did that, Brittany attempts to try to throw the water back, but Meredith blocks it immediately, like just like this. And then they're going back and forth. What they're talking, like, basically Meredith was like, I don't see it for you. I never will see it for you. The end. And Brittany's just like, well, why don't you disengage? She's like, oh, I'll have no problem disengaging with you. I will just act like you're not here, like I want to do. And I was like, oh my God. All this over Brittany saying her antics is giving she's having a seizure. But you already know, do not give Meredith a bone about any type of disenfranchised people. She's going to hang on to that bone, and that's the point. That is the point right there. She's like, that is very offensive and very disgusting. It's very disgusting of you. Like, classic Meredith. And then as all this is happening and the chaos is happening, we pan back over to Angie and Mary, because I think at this point, they did have some people come to check on Angie, so she is doing better. She's just kind of laying down, and they're chilling. And then also, while this is happening, the deck people are still like finding cucumbers, and then that's when they come to a conclusion that this is probably what the cucumbers are probably for skincare and not for anything else. It's just weird that you would bring it in your luggage when you could have just requested it so that you can use it. Anyway, and then from there, you know, Heather, of course, is leading the charge of like, yeah, you know, we need to put everything out on the table, like what we were talking about, Meredith and Whitney. And Meredith's like, yeah, let's put it on the table. You go ahead. And of course, this is where like Heather realizes Meredith is not going to be the one who brings it up. Meredith will never be the one who brings up, and I don't understand why Heather thought that was going to be a thing. It never has happened that way. It never will. And so then basically Heather feels offended and feels hurt that, you know, this is how it always goes with her. She has to bring it up. So she does. She's like, you know what? F it. And she basically was like, Lisa, I think you're the source of all these rumors. And not just with her, but just in general. You're the source. And basically, to sum this up very, very quickly, Lisa completely crashes out. She crashes out. She starts going off on everybody. and she makes herself look so guilty. To the point where she been even trying to go off on Meredith, and Meredith was like, and because Lisa's like, you better have had my back, you better have had my back, and Meredith's like, she basically repeated what she said. Meredith repeated what she said. I don't think it happened, because Meredith is playing neutral, and Meredith is about to learn that this is going to get her in trouble, because Lisa's not going to like. I can tell Lisa's not liking this neutral thing. She wanted someone to be on her side, but no one's really on her side, including Meredith. Meredith just doesn't want to be the center of the raft. She wants to kind of just be able to do that. She wants to be able to go into the bushes. But like, and so Lisa's crashing out, saying F you to everyone, and Heather had enough, and Heather got her all the way together. She's like, no, don't F, like, F us, F you. And she's like, if you're going to leave, then leave. Da, 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 da. And so then Meredith tries to, Whitney tries to follow, because Lisa keeps threatening to leave. So she doesn't leave, and then she leaves. She does, you know how she does that. She won't just leave because the antics of it all. And so she threatens to leave, and then both Whitney and Heather are just like, girl, do not leave, sit down. Like the whole entire time, like Heather's just like, sit down. And then Whitney, you really need to stop doing this. She starts getting in her face and trying to get her to sit down and stop like doing what she's doing. So she sits down again. The whole thing continues, and unbeknownst to them, Captain Jason and then the other guy who's also kind of cute, they both want to like go and like sit with the ladies, and like they're gonna like have a dinner, and they're like, never mind, they just walk back out, and Captain Jason ends up going to hang out with Angie and Mary. And Angie and Mary this whole entire time is hearing the whole entire thing, like, oh my gosh, it is going down. And even like Daisy and the deck people, they're just like, oh my God, it is going down. They are killing each other out there. And the chef tries to like get them more for food and stuff, and he was like, F this, and walks out. It's like, nope. And so basically they continue to go off, going back and forth, and then Lisa finally does leave she leaves. And Heather is following her until she doesn't follow her anymore. Because Heather at a certain point, because Lisa the whole entire time, once she does leave, she calls John and basically makes herself a complete victim. She does make herself a complete victim at this moment. And Heather's like, that is not what I said. That is not what I said. You know what? If you're just willing to throw away the friendship that easily because I'm calling you out on your bullshit, fuck you. And I was like, she did that. And so the dust is settling now. Dinner's over. Okay. And again, we have Angie, Mary, and Captain Jason together. We have Whitney and Daisy. She's like, can you just show me a tour of like the thing? So they do like a tour. And then Heather does end up going to Angie and Mary's room, and she's crying. She's like in tears because I think the way Lisa reacted really hurt her feelings. And this is if you're under the belief that Lisa did this. And honestly, towards the end of this scene, I could not justify the other option, the other theory I'm throwing out there. To me, that's a dead theory. I think the only theory is this theory that Lisa did do this and she got called out and she can't take the heat. And Mary and Angie's like, well, she did do it. She did it. Like, so I don't know, being a real friend is to be able to call your friends out. And so they're giving basically Heather words of encouragement, like, you did the right thing. Because Heather was not being confrontational at first. She said, I believe you might be the source of this. And she didn't say that you are the source of this. She said, I believe you might be the source of this. But let's be so for real. If this is a friend in real life, would you be okay with a friend accusing you of something really, really messed up without any proof? And that's Lisa's standpoint, according to her. But like, to me and to us as the viewers, for me, I think there's plenty of proof from what we're seeing. And to me, no disrespect, I don't think Mary is a liar. So Mary's saying that she did this, I think she did it. So that, for me, that's a deciding factor. If Mary was involved in this and it was like he say, she say stuff, I would be more in the middle, be more neutral. But once Mary got in this chat and she was like, no, she did do this. So I don't even know why we're trying to act like it. Because it seems like these type of things with things being leaked happens once they have a confrontation with Lisa. That is way too coincidental. So yeah, with love, Lisa, own it. And which she won't. And then Brittany tries to go and talk to Lisa. Lisa doesn't want to talk to her. And then Heather, after she gets done talking with them, she goes to look for Lisa and she finds Brittany, and Brittany's like, well, I know where Lisa's at. We can go and talk to her. She's like, yeah, well, let's go talk to her. And so that's where the episode ends. Yeah, I want to know what you guys think of the episode. I really do love the episode, but I just really, I'm gonna hold you. I need change behavior from Lisa because I'm just getting drained by her. She is making it too easy for her to be ganged up on, and like us as the audience be okay with it. I feel like if it was anyone else, it would come off as a gang up, but in this case, it doesn't come off that way just because of Lisa's behavior. She makes it so easy for the audience to vilify her. Whether she did it or not, like, and I already said kind of my opinion what I think is, but I did also throw another option out there for y'all, for those who like Lisa, because I know some of y'all are team Lisa. I'm team nobody. I try to be team common sense if possible. But anyway, that does conclude the episode for, well, that's a lie. I'm kind of team Mary. You already know I'm biased towards Mary. But anyway, in this case, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does in this case. Whatever, you get the gist. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. That concludes my review for today. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. I will see you next time. Bye.